Hey guys, it's Will. It is Monday afternoon and we're jumping into the market, seeing that most stocks are off to a pretty good start after hours. We do get some movement in the CTM side of things. So, one of the companies we follow is in the AI in defense sector. And we love to follow this sector right now, especially with the big beautiful bill passing recently. It's kind of opted in most investors to at least pay attention to what's going on in the defense sector. Companies like Palantir have seen massive surgences. We also saw Big Bear AI have a lot of momentum recently. They were up to $7 a share today. And then CTM stock is another company we've been following pretty closely. Now, CTM is based on the principles really that's AI and defense is going to be a good market, and then that they are securing contracts that are larger than their current market cap. That's kind of the approach. So, how's everybody doing? How is Monday for everybody here as we jump in, getting into the markets? And we had a great day today. We saw APLD have a nice move. We saw some corrections hit the market a little bit in the morning this morning. How is everybody doing? And we're going to also do some analysis using the machine. It's been an excellent tool for us. Let's jump on over to the machine here. It's been giving us some red recently. It's always good to see that. What is the best AI model that you guys have found is your go-to? Are you guys using OpenAI? Are you guys using Grok? Are you using Claude or Google's Gemini? Are you using Meta? Let me know, what models are you using at all, if any, to do analysis of companies using AI? Let me know. Keystone Giant Pumpkin says, hello. What's going on, man? Good to see you here. How's that giant pumpkin doing? Is that thing a world record yet? Hey, Will, was looking to buy some CTM tomorrow. Do you think it's good? Should I wait for possible sell down before? We're going to jump into it right now. We're going to do a full analysis on CTM stock, and we're going to be jumping into it in just a second. What's going on, David? David's tuned in, one of our top performing Stockmates members. David, it's always good to see you here. What insights do you got for us, David? What are you watching right now? Brigham Sevilla says, hello from Miami, Florida. How's it going? I lived in Miami for a little bit in 2024 with my wife, and then we moved to Argentina for a little bit. Well, I say lived in, it was about 3 months and then 3 months in Argentina. It's a nice place. I like the focus on crypto there. It's actually up and up with the financial sector. How is quantum still going? Is it overextended? That's the question, right? That is the question. We've jumped into it. I think right now, obviously, it's overextended from a valuation standpoint for real value. For where it's priced into, it's just pricing in for the future at this point. But we do have some long-term positions we continue to hold. We don't really do much there, but short-term, I wouldn't advise buying bullish at the moment, and I wouldn't advise buying at all or selling at all, but that's how I would approach it, at least. The C's, BBAI was good today. That's true. All right, so let's jump into CTM. And what are the top AI models you guys use? Philemon says, I use Grok. Giant Pumpkin says, I use Gemini. Got it. Okay. So we're going to use, let's go with Grok then. So this is using Mercatus mapping. It's doing some analysis, pulling SEC data, filings, news, all of the charts relative to the time frame we want analyzed. So we got Grok, and we're going to pull up CTM. And let's jump into it. It's going to do some analysis for us. And let's do some technicals first. First things first, we got the support level here at about $1 a share, validated this morning, and then continuing up. CTM made a run today up as high as $1.18 and then pulled back recently. So really nice surge kind of into market open, and then, well, I guess a little market dip this morning. We actually had it on our radar. We do have long-term positions in the Schwab portfolio in CTM. It's up about 12% so far today. And next target, it does have some resistance. Let's go over where it's at right now from a technical perspective. We'll get into some of their contracts and things they got going on. Previous resistance, support levels right here, resistance that they're at right now. Okay, so we see that level, that resistance at about $1 and call it $18.20. Then they just reached that level, started to get rejected slightly. If they pull back down, the next level of support again is at about $1 a share. If they can break out, validate this previous resistance as a support around 118, we're looking at the next target about a 10% increase to $1.30. Bullish movement and continuation of their overall uptrend that we've seen them hold above this 200-day moving average would be more like this, kind of getting up into this level here at about, kind of see this here, something like this, getting back up into this $1.60 range to $2 range for CTM stock. So those are big increases of about 50 to 70% increases if we see that happen. But right now we're looking at $1.30 as the next target with a support at $1 a share. Now, why CTM stock? Well, they are seeing some tailwinds right now from all of that's happening with the Big Bear momentum, or the Palantir momentum, which is more investment from the government into basically defense spending. So we see more defense spending benefiting most defense companies. CTM specifically, they work on cybersecurity and software and electronic warfare for the US government. And they're even building some agentic AI. And why we like them is because their current, I mean, I don't know if you guys have seen, but they signed a deal for $103 million. And that $103 million contract at the time was greater than their market cap. Now, things have balanced out. They've had some smaller contracts since then as well. And they've also raised some money. They're now at a market cap of $106 million. So that $103 million contract that they have is still pretty large compared to their current market cap. On the financial side of things, what we're seeing with CTM is that they have revenue increasing every single quarter. So we've seen their quarterly revenue increase. Annually, they've also been seeing increases, slight dip in 2024, but in 2025, they're actually on track now to bring in 50 million this year, which would be, again, a higher revenue number than we saw last year. So revenue in the quarter up 21% right now. So they're seeing revenues increase. Why is that? And why do they see total assets surging now? You see them going up year over year, and their liabilities drop down. So they're managing that debt. You can see their total assets up to 43 million, an all-time high for them. And their total liabilities at 11 million. So their cash is up 500%. Why is this? Why are they doing better? Most likely, like we said, market is moving towards the defense sector, and they're a company working in the software and AI tech world right now. And they're small, they're scrappy, they don't have a lot of hype or anything like that. I don't think there's any hype on this stock. If you look at articles, there's basically no articles about this company. We've just been following basically their financials pretty, I was going to say religiously, over the last like 8 months. It does seem that way because they've just slowly and steadily been building their market cap from about 50 cents or whatever, 30 cents, and just they've had some spikes up to $3 at one point in January. So their market cap got up to about 250 million. But now where they're at, they have corrected down. Institutional ownership is a factor. So right now, the institutional ownership is very low. And any new institution that comes along and buys any CTM will drastically move the stock, because not only are they small market cap, so I urge caution, they're only $100 million, but also like the institutional ownership is at only 7.5%. What does that mean? It basically means big banks, institutions that normally move stocks massively only own 7.5% of this stock. So institutions haven't touched it. We usually look for institutional attracting value in companies that are in that kind of fit the bill for that type of value profile. And it looks like they've seen increased positions, so more holders. They do have some shares held by State Street, Bank of New York. BlackRock has just a tiny bit, but probably just for the order books, as they don't see institutional ownership really jump up too much, as there's only about 7 million in institutional holdings. So basically what that means is with their current market cap around 100 million and their financials improving, if we saw any institution get involved, they're probably getting involved between 10, 20, or $50 million, most likely, which it's perfect because market cap's at 100 million. They're at right around $1. So basically for every $10 million that gets invested, this company will go up 10% or more. So I guess we're anticipating right here about a 10 to $30 million influx from institutions potentially into the stock. If not a 50 to $100 million influx, that would be very tremendous. But right now, just kind of looking at that $1.30 range. So that's what's going on with CTM. Hopefully you guys are having a great Monday. We just wanted to do a quick analysis. I see, let's take a look at what Mercatus had to say. Looks like Mercatus is looking a little more bearish on the next day. Potentially looking for CTM to pull down. Over the next week, though, looks fairly bullish. The reasoning why? It looks like they do have the risk to pull back. They have a resistance at $1.18. That's exactly what we were talking about here, right? So what we just kind of drew out again here, right? So $1.18 is the resistance right there. So that checks out. You can see that $1.18 range they hit this morning. And so according to Mercatus, the machine here, narrow price range volatility, possibly a support at $1.14 if they can hold it. Next 3 months, possibly more corrections, but and we look at the next 6 months, it doesn't look so hot. It's interesting, on Grok, it's much more bearish than what I was seeing over on OpenAI. But the information is different. So Grok is probably going to handle articles, in my eyes, better or stocks better in its analysis on the short term than over right on the conversation that's happening in X, as opposed to, for example, maybe Gemini. Let's take a look at Gemini, hit refresh here and get an analysis from Gemini, which uses Google, and we do feed in the press releases, but look at that. Let's see, is it any different in projection? Yes, it is. Okay, there we go. So Gemini is much more bullish right now. Gemini is anticipating that CTM is going to be up to above $1.30 in the next 6 months, which is a 15% increase. That's more than, or that's less than we would expect. We're a little more bullish, but nevertheless, Gemini is definitely looking more bullish. They could be considering more of the factors around company data, whereas Grok might be looking for more conversation that's happening. And then we can kind of cross-reference. We're actually adding a cross-reference right now where you're going to be able to cross-reference more. And that's going to be exciting. But according to the press releases and all those things put into Gemini, it's fairly bullish. And then if we drop it into OpenAI, this is the premium model on OpenAI. Let's take a look. So that might be the Grok analysis. Is that still holding true? Yeah, the OpenAI is bearish as well. Interesting. So it looks like Grok, OpenAI a little more bearish. Gemini seems to fit the bill closer. Oh, Never mind. It was still updating from Grok. So actually, they are bullish. Excuse me. OpenAI is bullish as well, with an anticipated growth of 10 to 15% and about 20% over the next year, and reaching resistance around $1.47 according to OpenAI. So this is where, when we add the comparative models and seeing how all the models are kind of comparing against each other, it's going to be super powerful, because, for example, we just did some analysis. We did OpenAI, we did Grok, we did Gemini. Gemini and OpenAI were bullish, whereas Grok was bearish. Some of the reasoning we could have gone into more, but it looks like mostly on the technical side and also the fundamentals, OpenAI and Gemini seem to both kind of be bullish. Looks like OpenAI was the most bullish here. Now, when we're looking at CTM stock at that $1.18 range, we're going to see if it can break out, continue break out. It is a resistance level. We've seen them get rejected out before and possibly sell back down to that $1.05 range. I would expect, if market direction continues, that CTM continues to build this market cap build and get somewhere up into this $1.32 range, about a 10 to 15% increase, potentially up into about 35 to 40% increase, is what I'm watching there with CTM. The only reason why I'm bullish, aside from the technicals kind of lining up in that direction and seeing that market cap steadily build, is just the contracts that are larger than their current market cap. 100 million bucks. I know they haven't had new contracts really in the last month or so, but when you sign a $100 million deal and their market cap's still at 100 million, I think they're in a good spot. Liabilities are low, so their assets are up, and that's always good to see over on just valuating a stock, really. So a good deal in my eyes, and I do have some positions long term. Short term, we'll see if any trades present themselves at market open. If they do, we'll probably trade at market open. We were trading this morning. If you guys ever want to tune in, we were trading ARBB this morning. We made quite a profit this morning on ARBB and their Internet of Things. We ended up making, actually, it wasn't a huge profit, but it was about $240 profits. So good for a couple minutes of trading. But this was literally this morning, market open. We wake up, we're here on ARBB. We see it surge as high as $13 a share. That's right. We saw it surge 53% today. This was a stock we were covering an hour before it made that move. And we were trading it this morning. That was a tremendous look. So we're going to be following there. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, we have some earnings to be watching closely this week as well. And I see, let's see, QBTS. Jose says QBTS. We could take a look for sure, Jose. But yeah, so ARBB, we're trading this morning. If you guys ever want to tune in, it's the second link in the description, and I'll also send you a free t-shirt when you join Stockmates for our daily live trading sessions. You can watch me trade live, see our entries, see our exits, surround yourself with other like-minded individuals every day at market open, and it's a blast. So if you haven't checked it, simply take a look, second link below. When it comes to the earnings for this week, though, I want to get into QBTS for Jose, but before we do, I also want to take a look at the earnings for this week. I believe that we were, let's see, let me see if I can get our earnings outlook for this week, because I know we have some targets in place. Just looking to pull it up, get it into Stockmate. It is Monday, so we're gonna have to get that out. Here we are. Let's see. Well, we'll have our earnings targets, I guess, uploaded later in Stockman. I was looking for Yoga, our team member. He put together the earnings that we were watching this week, and I hadn't seen them in the link that he sent me. So he sent me a link for what I put together, and then he put an image together, but I can't see that image for some reason. So we'll go over it another time. When it comes to the value of CTM and what we're watching there, again, resistance at $1.18. We'll look for that push up potentially into that $1.30 range. Let's see what we got going on. So Jose was wanting to look at QBTS. What do we got going on with QBTS? I know they were surging big time over the last few weeks. Seeing Quantum make some unprecedented gains. Pulled back from $28 today, at one point as low as $22 a share this morning before recovering. What a correction, and we could expect more, I believe, from the quantum market. If you look at the RSI, look at the MACD, everything is indicating overbought at the moment. A lot of things pricing in for what would be really the prices from 5 years from now, right? We're looking at that. Recent pullback, they're at a resistance. I could expect QBTS to correct. I think it would make a lot of sense as they are now at the resistance and all-time highs, similar to how most of quantum is. But we continue to hold long-term, and then any short-term trades, we don't have anything going right now. But if anything presents itself, we'll be looking. But right now, things overbought, possibly even playing some downside potentially if the opportunities do show up. All right, so let's see what else we got. JZev is here. What's going on? JZev from NYC. Always good to see the Wall Street crowd. I don't know if you're over in Wall Street, but I do appreciate you for tuning in. Thanks for joining us. Dylan, hey, Will, Cam isn't showing, or maybe it's me. Ooh, is it not? I think it's you. I think my cam is showing. Let's go, Tyler. What's going on, my guy? Good to see you. Jose says, hi, Will, how much can APLD go down tomorrow? Well, let's take a look. We were following APLD pretty aggressively today. I did a full video. I'll drop it for you in the chat for you. Let me go grab that. We did a full breakdown, and part of our focus for APLD was that we really like the market. It's one of the best markets in the world, and we did some deep dives into where that market is going right now. But with the recent push up, and also with TSSI was one of the ones we were watching this morning, which we really liked. We saw APLD surge, along with, if we open up our data center watch list, those stocks over there in the data center market, APLD had a monster day. It was up 20% once again to $24 a share. TSSI, which we covered this past weekend, had a monster day. They were up about 16% today and running up to that $20 range. We were looking for this move, 40% swing. They already made 25% of that swing up into that $18.55 range for TSSI. They're building some data center infrastructure. So when you're looking at APLD and where they're at right now, essentially you're looking all-time highs, overbought at the moment according to the technicals, but pricing in for what could be massive revenue bumps, since they only have had $30-50 million a quarter, and then they just signed a deal for $11 billion in data center income potentially. If that shows up on the balance sheet, then they are a $10 billion stock. They'll be valued at $50 or more. If it doesn't show up on the balance sheet, they could see a big correction if it doesn't show up on the income. So we got to watch the income and the earnings. I know it's tough. You take a risk, but we got long-term plays. Any short-term trades on APLD, we're not running with right now. We almost traded this morning, but we ended up trading. This is crazy, but we didn't trade APLD, and someone be like, oh, you didn't trade APLD, but they went up 20% today. How did you miss that? But the other stock that we were trading actually went up like 45% today, which was ARBB, which is absolutely crazy that happened. And also at this point, I wouldn't want to enter a short-term trade unless we just had a really clear plan. But just look at the RSI, look at the MACD. look at the technicals. It's just way up there above the resistance. You're going to see more risk than if you were buying, and have a higher probability of a reversal if you buy closer to the support or after it's pulled back more. So it's just right now it's such a high risk compared to those levels, but the risk doesn't matter really, because you just have to have a plan. If you have a plan together, you know where your risk is, your stop, and everything else. You could buy at the top all day long. Have a plan, Let's see what else we got. CW, did you guys know that CTM resells low noise amplifiers that are used in quantum computing applications? I did not know that. If you send me a link to my email that's in the description, that's such a tremendous insight. I would give you a free t-shirt. It's verified. Redwire, ready for a run? Question mark. Says OTC forever. I really like Redwire, because Redwire has seriously good balance sheet. Their balance sheet is larger than their current market cap. I don't know if people know that. And they're in the space tech industry and also in the defense tech industry. And they were running a little bit up to, they dropped still. They're at $8, but they were running a little bit trying to push up after hours. They dipped down to $7.75 and then recovered back up to $8. They have a support at $7.75, which was great to see them bounce there today. And we're looking for them to continue up back up into that $8.60 range, which would be quite good, because they recently dipped hard on the 17th, as they have had some sell-offs continue, but they're at the support. They're looking for a 3-stage reversal, which is kind of similar to what we saw in BBAI before they reversed back to $7. Redwire has been selling off. Now they're finding a support. Next level would be to see them kind of consolidate and then potentially use that previous resistance as a support once they get out of here, and try and make their way back up into those levels of, $20 a share or what have you, because I think they're still up massively year over year. Yeah, they're still up big time. They were at $2 a share 2024 there into the summer, and they're still looking to do something like this and increase, because their market cap's big. They got contracts lined up, and when I was talking with some of their executives at a conference recently, the contracts and backlog is pretty big, as they signed a deal for being one of the 14 contractors, prime contractors, on a $2.6 billion space deal. So they could see some growth for sure. Oklo made me cry, says Improvement. I sold it in 50. Yeah, the nuclear company. Oklo. Yeah, that one is backed by Sam Altman at one point. They're up to 136. Absolutely tremendous. Look at that. Boom. Straight up. Wow. What a run for OKLO. Jeez. Yeah, up to 140. Our last trend we were covering was right here. And we said, all right, it's up to this resistance. Support here. And then boom, it just took off. Tremendous. And nuclear energy is really getting a focus, because when you look at data centers, what's the number? I was just looking, because we're setting up racks, for example, for our analysis. Like, I want to set up racks here so we have a mini data center so that we can power some of these AI models without, running out to other data centers and paying more. Why can't we make our own data centers? And so I was doing some research, and one of the things that you have to do is you have to have a tremendous amount of compute, but you have to have a tremendous amount of energy. Heat's a factor and all those things. And so nuclear energy, if that's going to be solid for Oklo, for example, and they do see their revenue catch up, which it has not. They do have runway, but they have not seen revenue really at all. Then nuclear energy would be the go-to for major data center plays, and different tech companies that are running off nuclear would have a massive advantage, basically. So it's a really interesting market there. CW says, will do, Will. What's going on? Thanks for tuning in. Red Cat is drones went up today a lot. Yep, our cat was up there over in drone tech. Good stuff. SoFi, I'm not sure on it. I'm not too sure on that one. I haven't really looked deep in that one in a while. James says, good idea. Yeah, I mean, it just makes sense, right? I'm glad you're tracking. You kind of get it. Just makes sense. So thanks so much for tuning in, guys. I appreciate you all. If I earned your thumbs up, hit the like button. If you want to join us in our daily live trading sessions, it will be open. It's early in the morning, 6:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time if you're there in the morning. But on the East Coast, it's not so bad. You could sleep in a little bit. We'll be there at market open tomorrow morning. If you want to join us there, we were trading this morning and we wrapped it up with some profitable trades on ARBB. And if you want to see us enter and exit, it's the second link below, and you get a free t-shirt when you join Stock Meet. We'll have some exciting earnings coming out later tonight as well. So this will be in the in StockMate. If you ever want the targets for the companies, which companies are reporting earnings, when they're reporting, what our targets are, and what you need to know about their upcoming earnings, we release those in StockMate. They'll be coming out later tonight for the rest of this week. And if you ever have any questions, you can send them over to me as well. Live trading's happening in about 12 hours. Awesome, guys. James, thanks for tuning in. Donna, thanks for tuning in. I appreciate you all. Thanks, Bravo. Thanks, CW and AI JZev. Thanks, Dylan. Thanks, Josh. Appreciate you. Jose, good to see you. Giant pumpkins, man. You said that your pumpkin is getting big, right? Good stuff. Appreciate you. All right, I'll see you guys in the next video. Take care now. Have a good one. Gonna go hit the gym. Peace.